Cringe is a strange and powerful emotion. It's an involuntary reaction that can be brought on by many things. Predictable plots, ridiculous characters, and awful story implications can all cause the viewer to cringe. There's no rules. It's kind of like embarrassment or disgust, and can only make you feel like your head is trying to retreat into your body like a turtle. In this list, we'd like to try and explore the cringiest moments from Star Trek. There's certainly no shortage of cringe-inducing stuff to look through from both the old and new Star Treks. That cursed scene from Plato's Stepchildren when Spock did an interpretive dance routine and Kirk acted like a horse is a very good example. These moments go beyond lame, causing an actual physical reaction of revulsion in the audience. Yet, there's something beautiful about being able to enjoy cringy content for what it is, an impressive spectacle of awfulness. With all that being said, I'm Bree from Trek Culture, and here are the 10 things that made you cringe in Star Trek. Number 10. The Doctor in Seven's Body. In the Voyager episode Body and Soul, Seven, Harry, and the Doctor were attacked by a Locurum patrol ship that was searching the area for illegal holograms, which were banned in their space. In order to hide the holographic Doctor, Seven downloaded his program into her Borg implants, which transferred his identity into her brain, literally giving him control of her body and allowing him to experience real feelings for the first time. The Doctor ended up doing some pretty invasive stuff with Seven's body. First, he tastes food and alcohol for the first time and ended up overeating dozens of different things and getting way too drunk, leaving Seven with a killer headache. Then, after Seven was convinced to let him take control again to trick their captor, Rennick, he allowed Rennick to kiss Seven's lips and experienced sexual arousal from alien Jaren. The line from Seven, "You became sexually aroused in my body?" will forever be one of the most uncomfortable lines spoken in Trek history. There was also an awful B-plot about Tuvok starting his Ponfar and getting progressively more sexually frustrated as he was unable to use the holodeck in Locurum space. Number 9. The worst form of representation. Until recently, trans people were completely absent from Star Trek. Gender nonconformity was rare for the humans we saw, and often shown in alien societies to illustrate how different they were from humans. Other times, trans issues were treated as a joke, like in Prophet and Lace. In this Deep Space Nine episode, the Ferengi Grand Nagus Zek was ousted by the Ferengi Commerce Authority for signing an amendment that gave female Ferengis the right to wear clothing. Quark's mother Ishka was due to meet with the chairman of Sluggo Kola, Nilva, in hopes of convincing him to use his influence to give back Zek's power. The episode was set up to be a very powerful story of feminism prevailing over a patriarchal society, but after Ishka collapsed from a heart attack, everything started going downhill. With no female Ferengi to meet Nilva, Zek chose instead to make Quark into one. Dr. Bashir conducted a full sex reassignment surgery on Quark as if it were a routine and simple procedure. Then, he was easily changed back at the end of the episode. The reveal that transitioning in Star Trek is so casual was exciting for trans fans, of course, but the fact that everything was played off as a joke and focused on a cis-man Quark pretending to be a woman rather than an actual trans person made these scenes unbearable. It's also worth mentioning that the episode was filled with sexist stereotypes about women that totally ruined what could have been a good episode about Ferengi feminism. Number 8. The most hated episode. There were plenty of cringy Next Generation episodes to choose from. Sub Rosa, The Naked Now, The Game, and every single love story from the show were considered. But, you know, the winner has to be Code of Honor. There's genuinely no reason to go back and watch this episode unless you want your childhood memories of this show to be ruined. Its portrayal of one of the only predominantly dark-skinned humanoid alien cultures, the Ligonians, was undeniably racist and filled with stereotypes. Most of the main cast went on to condemn the episode. For example, Jonathan Frakes, who called it a racist piece of shit at a convention in 2007. What makes the episode even more upsetting is its placement so close to the beginning of the show. Most new fans who are just getting into the Next Generation will end up watching the Code of Honor pretty early on, and that fact probably turned a lot of people off of the series, let's be real. Number 7. Tucker's predicament. You know we had had to talk about the sexually transmitted hand nipples. The Enterprise episode, Unexpected, one of the first episodes of the show, was extremely cringy for obvious reasons. The randomness was off the charts, and the humor was cheap and slightly bigoted. After a strange encounter with an alien, Tucker returned to the Enterprise to notice a strange growth on his arm. Dr. Phlox examined it and revealed that it was a simple nipple growing out of his arm and that Tucker had somehow become pregnant. In fact, this was the first recorded pregnancy between an alien and a human. What came next, though, was a series of stereotypes about pregnancy and women played off as lame jokes. Tucker becomes overwhelmed with motherly instinct and starts getting odd cravings and mood swings. Throughout the whole episode, the joke was, "Ha ha, pregnant man," which is also pretty offensive to trans men with uteruses. The worst part of the episode was that the Klingons they encountered laughed hysterically upon seeing a pregnant man, as if that's the most shocking thing in a universe filled with all forms of life. Number 6. Dao Meeting Janeway. One cringe-inducing moment came in the Prodigy episode Crossroads. Dao finally came face to face with Janeway, but ridiculously chose to run away when she started to think that he was responsible for destroying the relay station CR-721, rather than just explaining what had actually happened to them. When the Protostar was being pursued by the Dauntless, the crew was unable to contact Janeway out of a fear of infecting her ship with the same living construct aboard the Protostar that infected the station. Just when you thought this situation couldn't get any more irritating, Murph finished his Murphtosis, and the first thing he did was hop on the bridge console and accidentally fire a torpedo at the Dauntless. The Protostar came under fire, and Okana came up with the brilliant idea to hide in the Romulan neutral zone, greatly complicating things. This whole disaster could have been avoided if Dahl had just simply explained the situation to Janeway, along with the true identity of the diviner. Number 5. Tribble Cruelty. Crew member Edward Larkin was an incredibly awkward introduction in the Short Treks episode The Trouble with Edward. Edward was a strange man. He often had big, unorthodox ideas that he struggled to achieve. In a briefing with other scientists aboard the USS Cabot, Edward suggests using the genetically modified tribbles as a food source for the starving Calatian people. The true shock came when he described tribbles as being all meat underneath the fur, admitted that he had eaten one himself, and suggested genetically modifying them to be brain dead to solve the ethical problems of his plan. He also revealed that tribbles were, at the time, extremely slow breeding, something which Edward also tried to correct with genetic engineering, resulting in the various tribble infestations throughout Trek history. Strangely, the massive ecological disaster was less disturbing to picture than Edward's cooking up and eating one of Trek's cutest, fuzziest creatures. Number 4. The pointless return of Seven's implants. The episode Hide and Seek from Star Trek Picard's second season really deepened Picard's backstory and explained his mother's tragic fate, but there were several moments that made us facepalm. For starters, the Borg looked lower budget than they did in the Next Generation. The lack of any sort of Borg-like appendages or armor made the fights with them so much more boring. And while it was cool that they revealed the Borg were destined to be defeated in every timeline, it was kind of annoying to see the Borg Queen succumb so easily to Girardi's idea of a new collective. However, what we really want to talk about here is the scene where the Girardi Queen healed Seven of Nine using her Borg nanoprobes. She said Seven would live, but that there would be a cost, and the camera panned over to Seven to reveal that the cost was having her Borg implants completely restored. This whole moment seems like it was supposed to be a big moment for Seven, and she spoke a bit about enjoying the ordinary for a while, but really, it just seems like the production team didn't want to let go of Seven's iconic look. It seems really random that healing her would result in the implants reappearing with the exact same design, especially considering that the Queen was from an alternate universe. Number 3. The Reveal of Starbase 80. Starbase 80 was teased throughout Lower Decks in the episode's Terminal Provocations and Reflections. Basically, transferring someone to Starbase 80 was known as one of the worst punishments for an unruly officer. All of the equipment was outdated and the crew were a bunch of lazy, annoying Starship rejects. In the episode Trusted Sources, Captain Freeman sent Mariner there because she believed that she'd badmouthed the Cerritos to the press. A busted Type 15 shuttle pod came to pick her up, carrying 2 annoying weirdos in yellow jumpsuit uniform variants with outdated comm badges from the Next Generation era. The starbase was run by stoners, had a foul smell, uncomfortable uniforms, and, when Captain Freeman hailed the station, the crew were trying to catch a loose Pyrinthian bat. It's no wonder that Mariner chose to leave Starfleet to escape this hellhole. Starbase 80 was definitely hilarious, but it's gotta make you wince when you picture this rundown station managed by some of Starfleet's biggest disappointments. It's honestly a wonder how they haven't lit a spliff too close to the main reactor and blown the whole station up by now. Number 2. Pikes Sexism. Nowadays, the original series is regarded as a pretty progressive show for 1960s America, but you might get a different impression if you started watching the series with the original pilot, The Cage. In one of the first scenes, Captain Pike got startled by one of his female officers, Yeoman Colt, and yelled at her for bringing him a report that he ordered from her. He then stated, completely out of nowhere, that Colt did her job well, but he can't get used to a woman on the bridge. Number 1, his female officer overheard this and was obviously pretty shocked, but quickly moved on after Pike assured her that she was different. It's pretty hard to believe that a Starfleet captain could be allowed to be so openly sexist in the 23rd century, or even in Archer's time. So, while parts of The Cage are definitely canon, we're gonna assume that Pike's misogyny has been completely retconned, along with any other continuity issues from the episode. This scene makes for a pretty bad first impression to the original series, which also ended on a sour note with the final episode, Turnabout Intruder, again stating that women were banned from commanding a starship. It wasn't until 1986's Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, that we finally saw a female Starfleet captain. Number 1. Lorca's role model. In the Discovery episode, The Butcher's Knife Cares Not for the Lamb's Cry, Captain Lorca was trying to encourage Stamets to perform the spore drive by asking if he wanted to be remembered as one of the great minds of history, or as a selfish little man who put the survival of his own ego before the lives of others. Unfortunately, one of the names he cited as one of the greats was none other than Elon Musk, who actually better embodies the other category of man that Lorca mentioned. Elon Musk is famous for being the now second richest person in the world, and for hiring and mismanaging intelligent people to take credit for their discoveries. He has definitely funded important research with companies like SpaceX, Neuralink, and Tesla, but is far from the genius visionary that he likes to cosplay as. He spends his free time union busting and posting outdated memes from 2015, and he certainly hasn't accomplished anything as impressive as the Wright brothers or Zefram Cochrane, as Lorca claimed. Elon's been involved in more controversies than we could possibly list here, but most recently, he bought Twitter and has seemingly been trying to use his position as CEO to influence the American presidential election by endorsing Republicans and claiming that Twitter's censorship of Hunter Biden's nudes, which were posted without his consent and deemed to be against the terms of service, constituted a violation of the First Amendment on behalf of the Democratic Party. Despite these censorship tools being open to both parties, as was stated clearly in the thread of leaked information that Elon shared, this story was used frequently in the following days to promote baseless conspiracy theories about Twitter colluding with the Democrats. Fortunately, this scene was redeemed a bit when it was revealed that Lorca was a mirror universe imposter. It's a lot more believable to imagine Elon as an important historical figure in that timeline, but still, we have to deal with the fact that Tilly went to Musk Junior High School, which is almost just as cringy if we're being honest. And those were 10 things in Star Trek that made us cringe. If you liked this video, make sure to leave it a thumbs up, and let us know in the comments anything we missed. You can keep up to date with us on Twitter at TrekCulture or on Instagram at TrekCultureYT. You can also find me on various social medias by simply searching Trekkie Bree. With all that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and don't forget to